I had a long day and even longer night, and was so tired getting home. I knew that my husband would be fast asleep when I got home. I crept upstairs quietly and got dressed for bed, then crept in, not to wake my husband. I was just about to go to sleep when I heard something. I thought it was my husband up and about, but then I knew it wasn't, as I could hear his snoring. Thankfully, my husband didn't snore loud, but I could hear his faint snoring, which told me he was definitely asleep. I had no pets, so it couldn't have been a cat or a dog. I froze in my bed when I heard another noise. This time, it was in my room. I didn't move and opened my eyes just a fraction. I could see a dark figure across my room wearing a ski mask. The figure was over by my jewellery. My heart thumped in my chest and I felt like screaming, but didn't want to advertise I was here. I knew, of course, whoever it was had seen me, but I closed my eyes and pretended to be asleep, hoping they would leave and I could wake my husband and lock the door and call the police. I didn't want them to know I was awake for fear of some altercation where anything could happen. Whoever was in the room, it could be a crazy man or woman, they could be a serial killer or just some crazy addict. All these crazy thoughts ran through my mind as my heart beat faster and faster as I felt sweat fall from my brow onto my cheek. I continued to be asleep. I could hear footsteps on my carpet, but couldn't figure out which part of my room they were coming from. Suddenly, they stopped. I listened intently for more movement, but heard none. I hoped and prayed whoever was in my room were making their way downstairs now and would leave my house immediately. But I froze in fear when I heard a sinister voice in my ear say, "I know you're awake."
I was 14 at the time. It was an ordinary day. It was a boring Sunday. I had no schoolwork to do or anything. Man, was I bored. So, I decided to go on Instagram for some entertainment. I was scrolling through some pictures and videos. Then all of a sudden, I get a DM. I say, maybe it's someone I know. I go to the DM to check it out, and it's from an older man who I have never seen before. He must have been in his 50s at least. He said that he was looking for a sugar baby. I just responded and told him to leave me alone and that I wasn't interested. When I think about it, I probably should have just blocked him. But then I told him that he was a creep and that I was only 14 years old. Thinking that was the end of it, he responds back to me saying that age is just a number and that he wants to come see me. I told him no, and for him to leave me alone. And I regret it to this day for saying this. But I told him, you don't even know where I live. Then he responds to me with my address and said he is coming to me now. I'm not gonna lie, that scared me a lot, because that was actually my real address. I was a little freaked out, but I tried ignoring it and just continuing my day like nothing happened. The next day came, and I left for school in the morning. I walked to school. It's about a 15-minute walk. Both my parents couldn't pick me up because they both work in the early morning. As I'm walking to school, I see a car behind me. It felt a little weird, as if it was following me. So, I ran down a random street to see if the car was actually still following me. And to my surprise, it was. As I was running down the street, I was out of breath and slowed down. The car pulled up to me, and it was the same man I saw on Instagram. I was in shock, and I didn't know what to do, but froze. The man said, "Come in the car, kid. I have some candy for you." I said no thanks, and to leave me alone. I started walking away. He didn't like that, so he followed me from inside the car, then pulled up in front of me, got out of the car, then grabbed me. I was fighting, but he was too strong. He was pulling me to his car, then another car beeps the horn and says, "I'm calling the police." The man then lets go of me, goes back to his car, and drives away. The person from the other car called my parents, and I took the rest of the day off of school to calm down and relax. Missing school that day was the last thing on my mind. It's now 4 years later, and I haven't ever seen the man. I always thought about what would have happened to me if it wasn't for the other car that day. Would I still be alive? I never walked to school since. All I know is I'm lucky to still be alive, and I take every day as it's my last because you never know what could happen.
My name is Tim. I was on my way back to my local town after a summer break in Arizona. I usually would get the bus from here, but it's 11 o'clock at night, so I have to get the boat across the river to my hometown because the bus stopped at 10:30. I walked through the woods, which was spooky at night. I kept imagining I heard a noise behind me, but every time I looked around, I saw nothing. I was lucky enough to have packed a flashlight in my luggage. I would be even more freaked out walking around these woods in complete darkness. There usually is a bell hanging on a tree, and you ring it, and the boatman comes across to take you across the river. I often wondered how he did it, as he was willing to bring people across from 6 a.m. to midnight. I looked for the bell on the tree, and sure enough it was hanging there. I rang it 4 times and looked, but couldn't make anything out, as it was misty in the river. I feared I would be stuck here all night, but was relieved when I saw the boat coming across from the other side. I saw a figure of a man in the boat. As the boat pulled up, I saw a man with a scar on his face. I thanked him and sat in. He rowed across the water, and I was shivering in the cold. And to be honest, there was a strange atmosphere alone in the boat with this man. When I was over in the other side, I paid him $5. That was stated on the sign near the bell. I thanked him and stepped out of the boat and walked up towards my town. I looked back and was startled, noticing the boat was in the same place, but the man was nowhere to be seen. I looked left and right, and no trace of him. I wondered where he could have disappeared to so fast. When I arrived home, my dad was watching TV, and I told him about the strange man in the boat. My dad had a confused look on his face and said to me, "You mean you came across in a boat? You didn't get the bus?" I said yes, it was the only way, as the buses stopped running out here at 10:30. My dad asked me to describe the man who brought me across on the boat, and after I described him, he told me that I had just described the man who used to take people across the river up till a month ago, after he drowned. The boat wasn't running for the last month. I froze in fear, trying to take it in, knowing that the man in the boat must have been the ghost of the man who drowned a month ago.